everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesday. So today's case is about Alissa Turney. So Alissa Turney was 17 years old when she went missing on May 27th of 2001, on her last day of junior year in high school in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, it was a very normal day. She was dropped off at school by her stepdad Michael, and then around lunchtime he picked her up to go have lunch. They got into an argument at lunch because Michael was a pretty strict dad. He would check up on everything she was doing. He didn't let her have much freedom, and she wanted a little bit more freedom and opportunity to do what she wanted to do, and he wouldn't let her. So, but he said that it wasn't an out of the ordinary fight. It was just like a parent-child fight. So they then went home, and Alissa stormed off to her room, and that was the last time anyone saw her. So Michael left the house at 1 p.m. to go pick up his younger daughter from school and then to run some errands. They were on their way home when he had tried to call Alissa a number of times and she didn't pick up. So he said to his younger daughter, could you please call your sister because she's not picking up? And she tried to call her and she didn't pick up for her either. So they came home and couldn't find her, so they went looking all around the house, still trying to call her in the meantime, and they heard her phone vibrating from her bedroom. And there was a note next to the phone, so Alissa had written a note to say that she was running away to California, and she left a little comment to her sister saying, well, you always wanted me gone, and now you got your wish. So Michael immediately called police, and, as a lot of times with these cases, they didn't take it very seriously because she was 17 years old. She left a note saying she was going to run away, so she was most likely just, going to be gone for a few days or even a few weeks, and then would, come home. So they didn't issue an Amber Alert, and they didn't look very hard for her. So when Alissa was 3 years old, her mother met her stepfather, so she didn't really I don't think her real dad was in the picture at all. So he was basically her father from a very young age. He had 3 children of his own. Alissa had an older brother, and then her mother and stepfather had a child together. And they had a very big family, but Michael described them as a very happy family and that there were no real issues. And then sadly, Alissa's mother died in the early 90s, and Michael was basically left as a single parent of Alissa and her younger sister. The other kids, I believe, were all old enough at this point that they had moved out of the house. Now, Alissa had a very outgoing and spontaneous personality, which clashed a lot with Michael's personality because he wanted to keep her tight and wanted to keep her safe. And Alissa was also a teenager, and she was getting to that stage where she was becoming a bit rebellious. So she would stay out late a lot, she would skip class, she would experiment with pot. So Michael started monitoring her even closer and would start going through her things. And her friend said that she loved him a lot, but that she felt very constricted under him. So a week after her disappearance, Michael got a call from a Californian number. The line was muffled and silent, and it didn't sound like Alissa, but he still believes that it was Alissa. Now, all of her friends and her boyfriend said that this was very uncharacteristic of her to run away, at least not for more than a few weeks, and also, she wouldn't have left her boyfriend behind to start off with. But she also left her phone, her makeup, her hairbrush, all her favorite things. She left them behind. None of the money in her bank account had been used either. So in 2006, so this is 5 years later, Michael gets a call from the police to say that a convict had confessed questions relating to Alyssa's case, so they ended up ruling him out as a suspect and, determining that he didn't actually kill her. So then, and I don't understand why this took so long, but we'll get into that later. Then they moved on to the last person to see her alive, which was Michael, her stepfather. Now, like I said, he was a very controlling dad. He would check all her computer history. He would go to her job to see if she was actually working. He put a recording on her phone, and he had cameras both inside and outside the house. Now, he wanted to monitor absolutely everything that his kids were doing. However, when police asked for the surveillance footage of that day, he refused to turn it over, and he said there was nothing noteworthy on it. Some of her friends and her boyfriend said that Michael had tried to sexually assault Alissa when she was younger. Now, there are actually video recordings of them telling police this. And a year prior to her disappearance, Michael had called Child Protective Services to say that if Alissa called them to say that he was sexually assaulting her, they shouldn't believe her. And apparently he also wrote out strange contracts that he made Alissa sign to say that he didn't sexually abuse her. But I find this a little bit strange because initially her friends had said that she loved him a lot, she just found him too controlling, and then 5 years later, they come out with saying that she accused him of sexual abuse. So A, that probably means she didn't love him a lot, and B, why wait so long? If she goes missing and you know this, wouldn't that be the first thing you tell police? So I don't know if I necessarily believe it, but I'm not saying I don't. The contract thing sounds very weird to me, though. Now, Michael also didn't want to talk to police. He refused to take a polygraph. He didn't want to give up a DNA sample. So police ended up getting fed up. They got a court order to search his house. And basically, when Michael walked out to the mailbox, they took him into custody so they could search the house without him being there. Now, first of all, they found that he had 2 pistols on him, a knife, and a load of ammunition, on his person. And then they found guns in every room in the house, 19 in total, and 26 homemade pipe bombs. There was also a fan on the property that was rigged with gas canisters so that if it was put on fire, it would explode. So the whole neighborhood had to be evacuated to clean all this up. So they ended up arresting Michael on weapons charges. Police also found a 98-page book written by Michael titled Diary of a Madman Murderer. And he wrote a story about how 2 assassin electricians killed Alissa. Now, Michael himself was an electrician back in the 90s, and he wrote that these 2 electricians killed Alissa by order of the union, and that in turn he killed the 2 electricians. But police talked to the union and they did not know who Michael was, and they didn't have 2 electricians that went missing. So apparently Michael's plan was to drive the van that was rigged with the gas canisters into the next union meeting, shoot and kill as many people as he could, and then blow up the van to kill everyone else. Now, police got this warrant on December 11th when they found everything, and the next union meeting was on December 15th. So it was it was so close. Now, he was given a 10-year sentence in 2010 for unlawful possession of destructive devices, but he was let out in 2017. Now, his sister refuses to believe, without any evidence, that her father had something to do with Alyssa's disappearance. She believes that Alissa is sitting on a beach somewhere in California until proven otherwise. Now, that's really the evidence in this case. Theories, not so much. I guess the 2 decided to stay away. But a lot of people don't believe that because she didn't take anything of significance. And then the other theory is that, Michael killed her. Now, I don't necessarily believe he did, and here's my reasoning. So first of all, I saw interviews of this man, and this was when I was researching the case. So before I even knew of this search warrant, I saw interviews with Michael, and my first thought was, wow, what a sweet man. And he looked like a very caring father. He looked like he spoke with a lot of love about Alissa, and I just thought, oh, he looks like a very sweet old man. And my first instinct would never have been that he had something to do with it. So when my research turned into him as a suspect, I was like, no, this can't be true. And all his kids have said, this is not my father. This is not the man I grew up with. I don't know him like this at all. So my thought was, since he wrote this book talking about how 2 electricians killed Alissa, so he killed them, I wonder if Alissa just disappeared and he couldn't handle it, and so he had a psychotic break, and he started making up this story about how electricians had killed Alissa, and he was going to take revenge by blowing up their meeting, because from all we know, he was not that kind of person who had guns and who made bombs. Nobody knew him like that. His kids, who had all grown up with him, did not know him like that. So for him to do that is just weird. And yeah, I don't know. I had a hard time believing that he killed her. I do believe that maybe they got into an argument that got out of hand, and he accidentally killed her and couldn't cope with it, so he fabricated this story in his head about these electricians, and then ended up believing it and going completely crazy. I do find it extremely suspicious that he wouldn't give the surveillance footage, because he did give them surveillance footage of months before that showed Alissa just sitting in her living room with some male friends. But he wouldn't show them anything of the day because he said it didn't have anything of significance on it, which is bullshit, because it either shows something happening to her, or it at the very least shows her coming down the stairs and leaving the house, so that they at least know whether she left on her own or not. So it is suspicious that he won't give them the footage. So it is likely that he did something to her, but I personally believe that it would have been an accident, because I can't see this man hurting her on purpose. And he was, for all intents and purposes, her father. He was a very loving father to her. So yeah, I don't know. I found this case so interesting, but it is so strange, because my first impression of this guy was, wow, what a kind, loving father. And then he turned into this guy who was making bombs, planning to kill people. But it sounded to me like he was trying to take revenge for Alissa's murder, so I think that he fabricated this whole story in his head and really believed it. Maybe to subconsciously cover up the fact that he accidentally killed her. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that this guy is a cold-blooded killer, and his kids definitely don't believe that either. But she's never been